Hello Internet, this is Farrell and welcome to this week's Space Engineers Update parody for November 2nd, 2017 and November 3rd, 2017. Last week's update resulted in quite the salty discussion on the Space Engineers forums, with players upset over the unannounced, unanticipated thruster damage changes making their voice heard. Thanks to those well-voiced opinions, the developers this week tweaked thruster damage again, this time to have damage applied only where the flame or thruster output is visible, similar to what it was before, seemingly. It was nice to see Keen agree to this compromise of performance versus realism, but we remain without any sort of official block that cannot be damaged by thrusters, and thruster damage still passes through said blocks, so be sure to keep an eye on your launch and landing pads, ladies and gentlemen. Beyond that, it looks like this week's update was a quiet update. Fixes included: backpacks can now be removed via the Space Master screen so the world doesn't look like a landfill of dead engineer detritus. Inventory desync when moving items has been addressed. Unfinished cryo chambers no longer short to ground. And unplugging your USB headset will no longer crash the game. But the big news this week was that Keen finally announced the screenshot competition winners. In a video the day after the update, the top 3 winners from each category were announced. While the screenshots are excellent and in full accordance with the laws of Mark, I do have some concerns. For starters, the skin container recovery screenshots tend to depict the containers as something that actually land intact, are somehow spawnable inside of a crashed structure, or being retrievable by a crane, a beast which we know usually clangs itself out at the slightest provocation. Other shots include a view of the frozen suit depicting the engineer clearly being out in the middle of weather, which doesn't exist in the game, and a ship landing on a hill demonstrating that while the game can look quite pretty, practical concerns such as, and how does this vehicle get back into the bay because the door isn't sitting flush with the uneven ground at all and can't in this game, go by the wayside. And yes, before you ask, I had my own screenshot in the competition, but as it violated every rule of Mark, I wasn't expecting to make it past the first cursory glance. If even the spam filters for that matter. Regardless of my issues with some of the entries, they're all awesome and reflective of what you can do in Space Engineers. On a good day. When it hasn't had a key game design change re-engineered with no warning. Or no tutorial telling players about key game mechanics such as thruster damage. Or when player legs aren't spazzing out. Or when they haven't taken away vital controls to engineering shots like this that don't depend on them. Or have to fight to get those features back against players who say those features aren't what the game is about. Or shell out money or spend days chasing containers down in the vain hope that you might indeed someday have